Welcome to the exciting and colorful world of international folk dancing. Recorded live at the annual North Carolina International Folk Festival, our series Dances of the World presents an outstanding array of performances and programs. The groups featured in Dances of the World share a love of traditional dance, and they love to share their traditions with others. And through Dances of the World, you're able to experience the world without leaving home. Folk Dance Videos International presents Dances of the World. This program features the colorful and exciting dances of Puerto Rico as performed by the Folklórico Guateque Ballet and the Compañía Folklórica, Los Muesas. Opening our program is Guateque. This lighthearted dance with a female ragdoll has its counterpart in several cultures. This is the way it was probably danced at Puerto Rican festivals a century or so ago. Indeed, in 1825, when many Caribbean islanders were beginning to try to throw off their Spanish rulers, the Spanish governor of Puerto Rico commanded public fiestas be celebrated throughout the island, frequently. Dance by law was a calculated move on his part to try to keep the people's minds off politics. Spain held control over Puerto Rico until after the Spanish-American War in 1898, when the island was ceded to the United States. Puerto Ricans became U.S. citizens in 1917 and adopted Commonwealth status in 1952. Their traditions are colorful, their heritage rich. And during our program, we'll introduce you to the bomba, the plena, and the seis, as well as show you how Puerto Ricans dance the polka and the mazurka. This is the gentleman who just performed that ragdoll dance, Joaquim Nieves Caldero. He's a cultural anthropologist and the founder of Ballet Folklórico Guateque. He's dedicated to researching and sharing his island's folklore.
Aprender a bailar nuestro folclore, nuestras danzas. Los muchachos del ballet enseñan los bailes y las personas que vemos que nos interese, pues los reclutamos.
Joaquim says during the summer months, Guateque offers free workshops to anyone interested in learning about island folklore. He says the dancers instruct the participants and keep an eye on those which show some promise, and then they are recruited to become part of the folkloric ballet, Guateque. Nalita Lopez, who's been dancing with Guateque for years, says many of the dancers come from a variety of occupations, but many of them are students.
They have to be good students. They have to have good qualification in school, because we take them, most of the time, take them out of classes to take them to the shows and things like that. Yeah, we have high school students, university. We got 6 teachers, a nurse, a policeman, and 2 secretaries.
The folkloric dance is so popular because, well, unlike classical dance, it doesn't depend upon years of formal study and training to perfect. There are some basic steps and movements in folk dancing, even slight choreography. But for the most part, it's up to the individual's spontaneous reaction to the music and the other dancers. Folk dancing has even been described as the visible and audible representation of the heart and soul of people.
Yo siempre he pensado en ella a pesar de mi dolor, y ella sigue gozando la pena de un trovador. En el tren de la una, sale hacia Nueva York, la mujer que me dijo, tuyo es todo mi amor. Me lo ha dicho maquinista, me lo dijo el conductor, que ya sacó pasaporte con destino a Nueva York. En el tren de la una, sale hacia Nueva York, la mujer que me dijo, tuyo es todo mi amor. De la ciudad de Chicago, salió con un conductor, la hembra que a mí me dijo, soy toda tuya mi amor. En el tren de la una, sale hacia Nueva York, la mujer que me dijo, tuyo es todo mi amor. ¡Oye! ¡Cultura puertorriqueña! En el tren de la una, sale hacia Nueva York, la mujer que me dijo, tuyo es todo mi amor. En el tren de la una, sale hacia Nueva York, la mujer que me dijo, tuyo es todo mi amor.
Brunilda Vasquez is a public school drama teacher. Her home is Cayey. She coordinated her island's folkloric dancers for the 8th Pan American Games held in Puerto Rico. As a result of the favorable reaction to their performances, she and the Puerto Rican Culture Institute decided to continue the group under the name Los Muesas.
después que tuve el adiestramiento con los muchachos y montamos los bailes para los Juegos Panamericanos, entonces se quedó el grupo y decidimos formar el grupo folclórico.
Christopher Columbus claimed the island of Puerto Rico for Spain in November of 1493, but it was Ponce de Leon, some 15 years later, who attempted colonization and exploration of this tropical paradise. One has to look quite hard to find the influence of the Indians, for unlike the Indians of other countries of Latin America, those who lived in Puerto Rico at the time of Spanish colonization were extremely warlike and refused to be conquered and enslaved. Having little patience with such independent thinking, the Spaniards simply eliminated the local inhabitants and imported African slaves to take over the tasks of harvesting the sugarcane, coffee, and other crops. It's from this African influence that one of Puerto Rico's most exciting dances comes. The bomba enjoyed its popularity primarily along the coastal regions of Puerto Rico, where the sugarcane plantations were located. The slaves were brought in to work in these hot, humid regions where the Spanish farmers couldn't or did not want to work. Even in the names of the dance, you can see the African origin: Ballet, Kalinda, Kumbe, Babu. The bomba was the main source of recreation for the slaves since it had virtually no acceptance in Hispanic society. Generally, the dances took place on Saturday nights and during religious festivals. Usually, the singer's a woman. A chorus responds to the woman in unison. There is no harmonic singing in the bomba. Unlike the seis, where we will shortly see competition between dancers, in the bomba, you will see competition between the dancers and the musicians. Another characteristic of the bomba is that the dancers of the bomba usually perform alone, while in the seis and the plena, they dance in pairs and are usually embracing each other. The principal instruments in this dance are the drums and maracas, thus emphasizing the importance of the beat. In the interior of the island, where the large farms and coffee plantations were built, European colonizers came with the refinements of their homeland, including their music and dances. Over the years, the dances such as the polka and the mazurka have been suitably Latinized.
To enjoy a typical mazurka.
Well, the mazurka is also an influence from Europe. It's not as fast as the polka. So the countryman uses most this dance for relax, for take a break, because all the other dances were so fast and require so much energy, and it was used mostly for taking a break between the dances, but still keep on dancing. There's no typical dress for the men and the women in Puerto Rico.
A base de estudios que se han hecho del folclore de nuestra patria y haciendo un estudio de cómo vestían, nos encontramos que a nuestra campesina le gustaban mucho los trajes de mucho colorido.
For the design of the costume we use for the dancers, we have to go through a lot of research because there was no defined costume for the women and the men in the country, in the mountains. So from that studies and talking to people who know and have do their own research, we finally came with this product. We do know that the women of the country loves to use bright colors on their dresses. Men usually uses white clothes with a piece of bright colors around his waist and the straw hat.
Y la otra de los bailes que hemos presentado son la plena, que es el producto o el baile más contemporáneo nuestro, donde se surge de la mezcla de las tres culturas nuestras, el indio, el español y el negro.
The plena is
El baile contemporáneo,
a little more contemporary dance,
donde se mezclan las tres culturas.
where we got the influence of the three colonization, the Indians, the Africans, and the Spanish.
The music is very simple and repetitious. As in the cases of all folk music, it lacks a high degree of sophistication and polish and stylization as seen in formal dances. It's very down to earth, rooted in day-to-day themes and activities. It can be compared to the romances of Spain, the corrido of Mexico, the English ballad, and the American bluegrass music. The plena is danced by couples with a rather simple step, one forward and one back. There's usually a singer and a chorus, and as we saw with the bamba, the chorus generally responds to the vocalist. Popular and current topics or issues quite often serve as inspiration for the plena. There's one plena inspired by the Dempsey-Tunney boxing match of almost half a century ago. Other themes deal with everyday philosophy, superstition, or simply advice that may be needed. A plena could include the threat of an oncoming hurricane, the arrival of a new bishop, elections, or religious problems. It's generally conceded that the plena originated in Ponce, spread to several other cities before covering the entire island. It's a relatively young dance when compared to the seis and the bomba. Most authorities date it back to about the 1920s. But the truth is that the type of music that is associated with the plena, the beat, the themes, the style, all date back to the 19th century, even though they didn't call it the plena at that time.
We have different instruments for different dance. For plena, we use the pandero, the cuatro, and the guitar.
The instruments used in the plena are really a mixture of those utilized in the bomba and in the seis. And it is the seis that is the most popular style of folk dance in Puerto Rico. This particular seis apparently originated in the town of Naranjito, for which it is named. There are many theories concerning the origin of the seis. The word seis in Spanish means six, the number, as in uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis. One theory states that the name is derived from the sixth figure of the contradanza. That's another type of dance. Another belief is that the name came about due to the six-string guitar that was used to accompany the dancers. They're both interesting theories, but both false. The sixth string of the classical Spanish guitar was added years after the origination of the seis dance. Likewise, the contradanza was developed after the seis. Yet another speculation suggests that it is called the seis because 6 couples are involved in the dance. Well, as you can see, any number of couples can dance the seis, and this theory doesn't hold up either. The most likely explanation, though, for where the name of the dance came from would be that it originated in Seville, Spain, where a choral group of 6 children would sing 2 times each year for the feasts of the Immaculate Conception and Corpus Christi.
Ay, lelo, lay, lelo, 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 lay, lelo, lea, allí donde la vetrina, allí donde la vetrina, tempranito en la mañana, baila y despierta la rana, con su dulce tonadilla, con la fuente cristalina, con la fuente cristalina, con sus divinas canciones, en honda modulación, forma un bello florilero, pucho y delicado empeño, me sirve de inspiración, eso compadre.
In Puerto Rico, the seis starts with a prelude, while the main singer prepares to perform. The dance is a very rapid dance, but yet its movements are smooth. You don't hear the typical beating of the feet as you do with other dances of the island. The cadences used in the seis, as well as the name itself, have their origins in Spain. The principal instruments utilized in the seis are the guitar, which is of Spanish origin, the cuatro, a typical instrument of Puerto Rico that looks something like a small guitar, and the güiro.
The güiro is made from a fruit of a tree we have in Puerto Rico. It's a big fruit. You let it dry, then you take the inside part of it, and with patience and a sharp knife, you cut some straight lines across its surface, and then we use it to make the sound with some steel strings, so you rub it on it and produces its sound.
This seis is called enramada. It was originally associated with a successful and large harvest when everyone would gather in the yard to celebrate.
Y ahora vamos a competir. Los compadres contra las comadres en un seis enñangotado.
The seis can also be inspired by one's surroundings. The guinea is a small chicken found on the island of Puerto Rico, And in this fun-filled dance, the participants take turns trying to mimic or imitate the movements of the small bird.
The dance of Enyangotao. That's one of the competitions that were celebrated during the parties in the country. There were all sorts of competitions. This is one of those competitions. And the point of the competition is to show who is the strongest or the smartest or have the best ability between women and men. And men cheer for the men and women for the women, and they have a lot of fun.
The rhythms of the Puerto Rican sais are so contagious that even when one doesn't dance, one can't help but pat a foot or keep time to the music by tapping fingers or a stick or whatever.
El seis de los palitos era un seis donde el campesino llevaba el ritmo de la música con cualquier instrumento, con cualquier objeto que tuviera en su mano. Cuentan que se paraban en las esquinas, donde quieran que estaban, seguramente oían un número o una música y la llevaban al ritmo de este palito, y de ahí pues degeneró el baile.
Oh, the seis del palito. This is because the countryman that was not dancing but likes to keep on the rhythm of the music, and he grabbed everything he got on his reach, piece of wood or something, and keep on stabbing and hitting, keeping the rhythm. And somebody saw this, and they said, let's make a dance using these wood sticks and following the rhythm of the music. That's how it started. La Seña María la Colorada is a variation of the seis and is called a marumba. It follows the same principles of the seis, but it differs in the formation.
Se llama Seña María la Colorada porque era un personaje típico de Naranjito, de donde es el autor del baile.
This dance of Seña María la Colorada refers to a special lady who lives in Naranjito also, and she was so peculiar that the author immortalized her in this dance.
As evening festivities frequently wore on into the night and more rum fueled the dancers, rivalries became, shall we say, more interesting, more exciting, and frequently more dangerous. Again, the folk dance mirrors life and preserves a part of Puerto Rican heritage.
El 6 del machete.
We hope you've enjoyed this celebration of heritage featuring some of the dances of Puerto Rico as performed by the Folklóric Ballet Guateque and Los Muesas. This program was recorded at the North Carolina International Folk Festival in Haywood County. Folkmoot is an Old English word meaning a meeting of the people, and the festival is dedicated to international goodwill and cultural understanding through folk dance and music.